I never imagined that moving into Sycamore Heights would turn into a fight for my sanity or my dog's safety. When I bought the house last year, the neighborhood seemed picture perfect: trimmed lawns, smiling neighbors, and that cozy, small-town vibe. What my real estate agent conveniently skipped over was the iron grip of our HOA president, Karen Winters. From the moment I moved in, Karen had her perfectly made-up eyes on me. Apparently, being a software developer meant I didn't fit her idea of the right aesthetic. Her words, not mine. At first, it was petty stuff: passive-aggressive notes about my grass being a quarter-inch too tall or my trash bin sitting out 20 minutes too long. I followed the rules as best I could, trying not to lose my mind. Everything escalated when I adopted Max, my German Shepherd rescue. Max was an absolute sweetheart: gentle, loyal, well-trained, and quiet. He never barked nonstop or tore up gardens. None of that mattered to Karen. The very next day after bringing Max home, I found a notice taped to my mailbox reminding me of the HOA's pet restrictions. Apparently, dogs over 50 pounds required special approval, a rule buried page 94 inside a binder thicker than a college textbook. I had never seen this rule enforced on anyone else. My neighbor Jim had lived there for years with his Labrador. When I told him, he just shook his head and said, "Karen picks her targets. Once you're on her list, she never stops." I submitted everything she asked for: vaccination records, training certificates, even a glowing reference from Max's foster family. 2 weeks later, I received a letter saying my application was under extended review, with no timeline at all. That's when Karen started hovering, documenting every move Max and I made. Around that time, strange things began happening at my house. My garden hose would be uncoiled and left running. Random flyers filled my mailbox. Once, my sprinkler system had been reset, flooding my flower beds. I couldn't prove anything, but my gut told me exactly who was behind it. So I installed a full security system, not because of crime, but because someone was clearly messing with my property. Small, discreet cameras covered my front yard, backyard, and side passages. I didn't tell anyone. If something happened, I wanted unfiltered proof. Max loved relaxing on the deck in our fenced backyard, and I always left a big water bowl out for him, especially during the summer heat. Last Tuesday, while I was at work, my phone buzzed with a motion alert. I opened the app and my heart dropped. It was Karen Winters, slipping through my side gate, using what looked like a copied key. She crept across my backyard and headed straight for Max's water bowl. Max wasn't outside at the time, thankfully. I'd left him indoors with the AC on. Karen glanced around nervously, pulled a small vial from her pocket, unscrewed it, poured the contents into the water, stirred it with her finger, and rushed out the way she came. I immediately called my neighbor Emma, who works from home. "Emma, I need a huge favor," I said, trying to stay calm. "Please go remove Max's water bowl from my back deck right now. Don't touch the water, dump it into the garden, and bring the bowl inside. Use gloves if you can." "What's going on?" she asked. "I think someone poisoned my dog's water. I caught it on camera. Say no more. I'm on it," she replied. I drove home faster than I should have. By the time I arrived, Emma had safely disposed of the water and placed the bowl in my sink. I thanked her and immediately pulled up the footage on my computer. The video was crystal clear: Karen's face, her movements, the vial, everything. Now, what would you do in my position? Let me know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to see what happens next when I finally confront Karen with this undeniable evidence. You won't want to miss it. I never thought moving into a picture-perfect neighborhood like Sycamore Heights would turn into a battle for my dog's life. But that's exactly what happened. When I first bought my house last year, it seemed like a dream. Manicured lawns, friendly waves from neighbors, the whole package. What the realtor failed to mention was the HOA president, Karen Winters, who ruled the neighborhood with an iron fist. From day one, Karen had it out for me. Maybe it was my job as a software developer, which she somehow decided wasn't aesthetically pleasing for the community. It started with petty things, passive-aggressive notes about my grass being half an inch too long or my trashman being out for 5 extra minutes. I tried to just play along and keep the peace, but things took a dark turn when I adopted Max, a beautiful German Shepherd rescue. Max is the sweetest, most well-behaved dog you could imagine. He doesn't bark, he doesn't dig. He's just a big, lovable goofball. Karen didn't see it that way. The day after I brought Max home, a note appeared on my mailbox. It pointed to a rule buried deep in the 94-page HOA handbook. Dogs over 50 pounds needed special approval. Funny thing is, my neighbor Jim has a huge Labrador, and that rule had never been mentioned to him. He just warned me, once Karen targets you, she doesn't let up. I jumped through all her hoops. I submitted Max's vaccination records, training certificates, even a character reference from his foster home. The response, a vague notice saying my application was under extended review, with no end in sight. Meanwhile, Karen started watching my every move. It was getting creepy. My gut told me something was wrong. Strange things started happening around my house. My garden hose would be left running. My sprinkler settings were changed, and junk mail I never signed up for flooded my mailbox. I knew I needed proof, so I installed a discreet security system. The tiny cameras covered my front yard, backyard, and the side of my house. One afternoon, while I was at work, I got a motion alert on my phone. I opened the app and my heart sank. It was Karen Winters, letting herself into my backyard with what looked like a copied key. I watched in horror as she walked over to Max's water bowl, pulled out a small vial, and poured its contents into the water. Thankfully, Max was safe inside with me at the time. My hands were shaking. I immediately called my neighbor, Emma, and told her what was happening. "Dump the water out and bring the bowl inside," I said, "and please wear gloves." By the time I raced home, Emma had already taken care of it. I pulled up the security footage on my computer. The video was crystal clear. There was no denying what she had done. I saved multiple copies of the video and called the police non-emergency line. "I need to report trespassing and a possible attempt to poison my animal," I told the dispatcher. Two officers arrived within the hour. They watched the footage, their faces growing more serious with every second. They carefully collected the water bowl as evidence. "This is a serious crime," one of them said. "We'll be paying Ms. Winters a visit." On their advice, I filed for an emergency restraining order. 3 days later, the lab results came back. The substance in the bowl was antifreeze mixed with beef bouillon, a sweet-tasting, lethal poison for dogs. Karen was officially charged with criminal trespassing and attempted animal cruelty. The news spread through the neighborhood like wildfire. My phone blew up with messages from neighbors who had been quietly bullied by Karen for years. An emergency HOA meeting was called. With my lawyer by my side, I stood up and played the security footage for everyone to see. The room was filled with shocked gasps. The vote to remove Karen as president was unanimous. She completely lost it, shouting about her years of service and how unfair it all was. But it was too late. She was stripped of her power and left to face the legal consequences of her actions. As she stormed out of the meeting, her eyes met mine. I could see the pure hatred in her glare, but I also saw something else, the realization that her reign of terror was finally over. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories.